Javier Zarachina. The audio version of the dress cleaved the internet, and likely your family, your friends, or your office, into two bitterly divided camps on Tuesday, the Laurels and the Yannys. It began, as it so often does, with a viral clip posted by a high schooler on Reddit, which blew up when Chloe Feldman, a YouTuber and social media influencer, added it to her Instagram story and then to Twitter, asking, "What do you hear? Yanny or Laurel?" That should have settled it, because it's obviously Laurel. But people out there are convinced, for some reason, that this weird robot voice is repeating Yanny. Some people even claim they alternate between hearing Laurel and Yanny, or, strangest of all, hear both simultaneously. Some people even hear Gary, or Gary, or something in between. So what's going on here? The clip is playing around with frequency, and it depends on the range of frequencies listeners hear. What Yanny and Laurel have in common, there's just enough ambiguity in this fairly low-quality recording that some people are hearing it one way and some people are hearing it another. Brad Story, the Associate Department Head of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences at Arizona State University, told me. Humans typically pay attention to 3 different frequencies when they're listening to speech. Story said the lowest of the 3 frequencies is absolutely essential for the L's and R's, the consonants that make up Laurel. So when you're listening to Laurel, the reason you get L, R, and L is because of the movement of that 3rd frequency, he said. Here's the catch. The word Yanny, the 2nd frequency, has almost exactly the same pattern as the L, R, L in Laurel, he added. One reason for the confusion is the poor quality of the recording. Typically, if you have a high-quality recording and you're listening on a good device of some sort, you're not ever going to be confused by those. Story said. So if you're hearing Laurel, you're likely picking up on the lower frequency. If you hear Yanny, you're picking up on the higher frequency. It really comes down to how our brains pick up on and interpret these frequencies, Rory Turnbull, a professor of linguistics at the University of Hawaii, said. Video game developer Dylan Bennett made a video that illustrates what's going on here. Okay, you're not crazy. If you can hear high freaks, you probably hear Yanny, but you might hear Laurel. If you can't hear high freaks, you probably hear Laurel. Here's what it sounds like without high, low freaks. RT, so we can avoid the whole dress situation. But for the rest of us with po-folk headphones and old folk hearing, we just hear the lowest frequency components, he wrote in an email. But maybe don't panic too much about your hearing if you're on Team Laurel. One likely source of the confusion is the clip itself, which doesn't correspond to the sounds humans generally make when they're speaking. Vowels and some consonants, like those heard in Laurel and Yanny, have many frequencies when humans pronounce them through the vocal tract, Munson wrote, not unlike hundreds of tuning forks playing at once. This is a spectrogram, a visual representation of those frequencies for the Laurel versus Yanny meme. The dark bands represent what are known as formants, the frequencies that resonate the loudest. Vowels pronounced by humans have multiple formants, but the first 2 formants, F1 and F2, are crucial to determining what the vowel sounds like, such as whether you're making an E sound or an OO sound. This is what you're hearing. Benjamin Munson, but zoom in on this clip and something is awry. Munson said, Benjamin Munson, where there should be a second formant, there are just speckles that appear random, he wrote. One thing about this signal is that it's hard to track the F2. This is perhaps the first ingredient into why it is so susceptible to being identified differently. The F2 is for some reason overlapping voices. Intentional shenanigans? The girl from The Ring, Masked The clip's fishiness doesn't end there. Munson said if you zoom out again and take a look at the entire spectrogram, there's something else going on. You see some faint stripes that look like lighter gray formants at those higher frequencies. Those shouldn't be there, he wrote. Humans can't produce those. Benjamin Munson: I heard the higher frequency formant sequences when I first listened to this signal 2 hours ago and thought that they maybe were someone talking in the background. Then I thought ERMERGERD, it's the audio version of the ring, Munson joked. There isn't actually another voice in there, he said. It's just the lower frequency patterns repeated at a higher frequency. Again, that mismatch, or shenanigans, as Munson called it, doesn't happen with human speech. Why this is going on in the Laurel, Yanny clip is less clear. One possibility is that the formant pattern at the higher frequencies is just Laurel transposed to higher frequencies, and that Laurel sounds like Yanny at higher frequencies. Munson wrote. Another guess is that Laurel and Yanny got smashed together. But all this confusion, those so-called shenanigans, forces our brains to fill in the blanks of how the clip should sound. It's possible that knowing there are two choices, Laurel and Yanny, preps us to hear one or the other distinctly. Listeners could be affected by the language they speak, or the last thing they were listening to before they clicked on the meme. These subtle, weird differences in how the human brain interprets sound is something scientists are constantly trying to better understand, Turnbull said. But for what it's worth, he added, this is a really cool auditory illusion.